Hello and welcome to the Post to Post podcast. It is podcast number 51. My name's Neil. I'm joined here with Brent. Welcome.
Thanks. Good to be here. It's number 51, but it's podcast number 1 on our new set.
That's correct. We have some new mics, some new arms, and we sound probably not that much different, but maybe a little bit different. These are mics that were funded by our Patreon people over the past year. It's taken us a year to get the camera and the mics, all thanks to you guys on Patreon. It did take a while. We don't make a lot of money on Patreon, but we are very grateful of the money that we do make on Patreon, and it's allowed us to get stuff like this and just make the show better. So.
And these things are beautiful, and they've also allowed you to redo the whole desk arrangement, so now we're in timid Sid mode.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Say, but it's great.
Yeah, so we took the old desk and we flipped it around. Those who are listening to this podcast and not watching will find this a little bit difficult to visualize, but we took the old desk, we flipped it around into a V, and we're kind of sitting diagonal. And so I can look at you without the mics being in the way, and I can look at you in the camera without the mics being in the way. So it's a really good setup.
The crotch of the V is pointing towards the camera, and we're at either side of the outside of the table part. So.
Exactly, yeah. We did a test with these mics, and it went pretty well. This is only the second time that we've used these mics, so there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, more on the technical side of how close I need to be and how far away I need to be. There's a bit of a little bit.
We're popping the P's a bit, so we have to adjust levels and our distances from the mic to make it non-popping, but also still full enough audio. So.
Exactly. So it's a bit of a learning process. These are really nice mics, probably a little bit too nice. They're picking up a little bit more than we wanted, so it's going to be a little bit of a learning process, but please bear with us. It won't be too bad. I mean, there's really good sounding mics. So one thing we noticed was catching our breathing. If we're not talking, they're so sensitive that it's catching our breathing. So we had to move back a little bit. So little things like that, it's going to take us a little bit to get used to. But this is actually going to be the setup for literally every single thing that we produce, a podcast or a regular video. In the regular videos, we won't have headphones on probably. But yeah, this is it. This is what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
So,
well, looking forward to many, many more down here.
I'm not sure what the next upgrade is. Probably a better mixer that has more XLR inputs, so we could have more people on the show potentially.
Yeah, we physically now have room for 4 people.
Yeah, technically, yeah.
We could sit somebody beside me and one beside you, and we would just need 2 more microphone inputs into our board to make it work right.
Yeah.
Which right now we can't.
No, we only have 2. So the next one up from that mixer is the Behringer whatever. I'm not even sure what it's called, but it's around $224 Canadian. Actually, it's exactly $224 Canadian. So it's going to take a little bit of a time to save up for that, but that's okay. That's part of the process and all the stuff. So just a big thank you once again to our Patreon members who contribute every single month. And everyone's little contributions add up. And over months and months and months, we were able to save for this. So you guys are absolute rock stars. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And speaking of Patreon members, Friday night, there was a game between Dallas and Boston. And 3 of our Patreon members were there together. They spent the whole week together in Dallas. So we got Cordell and Mika and Joey all having a time down there. And they went to go see that game. Pretty boring game, unfortunately. It's a 1-0 win in overtime for Dallas.
Boring, but things happened.
Things happened. Well, Brad Marchand happened. He's a thing, I guess.
He is a thing. He's a thing of weird proportions.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the cool thing about this is that Mika, who is Finnish and he's traveled all the way from Finland, he's vlogged the entire thing on his YouTube channel, which is I think all the videos are public. So if you guys want to go watch the videos and see their experience, you definitely should. His YouTube name is Mika89, I think, is MIIKA space 89. If you search that on YouTube and click the filter button and filter by channels, you should find him. And all the videos are there. They're awesome. You get to see their experience. They got tattoos yesterday.
Oh, really?
Two of the 3 of them got tattoos. I'm not sure which 2 of the 3. I know that Mika was one, and I think T-Park was the other one, Cordell. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet, though. That vlog hasn't released yet. I'm looking forward to it. So,
what were the tattoos?
Mika's was on the back of his shoulder, I think. I don't know where Cordell's was. But
I'm Mika_89 is the
underscore?
underscore, yeah.
Is that the URL or the channel name?
The channel name, once you get into YouTube and do a search, so it's MIIKA_89, and it comes up. The channel name is Mika89 with no underscore, so it's just a space. But, that's right. So it's Mika89, and T-Park is, Cordell is seen on one of them, and the headline is, "We went to the most boring hockey game ever."
Yeah.
Texas trip vlog number 7. 5 views so far, so hopefully that'll be at least a couple hundred by the time the weekend's over.
Go give them some views, watch the videos, subscribe, give Mika some encouragement. He'd make some other vlogs too, so if you have any interest in seeing what Finland is like.
Yeah, that's cool. I can't wait to see. You had given me the name last night, and I did a search, but I didn't get it right. I had 98 instead of 89. I couldn't find him, so now I've got him. I've got him right here in my laptop. I will look later on.
Awesome.
Yeah. So just back to the Brad Marchand thing. Did you see what he did when he was in the penalty box?
Didn't he wave a white flag or something? Well,
that was the second time. He went in the first time, and somebody, you know how Vancouver has the two guys, right?
Yes.
The green men or whatever. So in this case, it was just a fan, but the fan was sitting across the glass, probably in the front row, and Marchand was to the fan's right, and the fan was giving him, faces and things. I think it was a lady, or maybe not a lady, but a woman. And anyway, Marchand's looking at her and saying, "How much did you pay to see me tonight? How much did you pay to see me tonight?" In other words, like, I'm doing what you want.
Yeah.
You paid money to come in here and you got me.
Yeah.
And so that was his attitude. Now I'm thinking, this is Dallas. How much do people have to pay to go into a Dallas hockey game? Probably not as much as they'd play in Madison Square Gardens.
No, probably not.
Or they'd pay in the ACC or the Scotiabank Center, whatever they call it in Toronto now. But I'm thinking the answer to that question probably is not something Marchand would really want to know.
I guess so, yeah.
He probably didn't pay very much.
No. There were a lot of Boston jerseys in that game.
Yeah.
A lot of Boston fans.
Yeah. But what a guy. And then he did the surrender towel. And I think the penalty he got called on was quite cheap, actually. Now, the surrender towel is a different thing. But he basically was standing in the crease, and he just tapped the goalie, just Bishop. He just tapped him a little bit, and Bishop went sideways. Yeah. He really sold it. And they gave Marchand 2 minutes for slashing. I thought that was a cheap penalty.
100%.
Don't think it should have been called at all.
No, Marchand should not have gotten a penalty there.
Yeah, but there's a million other times where he should have got a penalty and never got one.
It's about reputation.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It followed him right to the crease.
Exactly.
And he got that penalty, and he was in the penalty box. That's when he put just one of those Gatorade white towels on the end of his stick and held it up. I surrender. But he's such a, the things he does, like his first penalty when he was in there, I can understand in the heat of the moment you lose your brain.
Yeah.
And you do something dumb. And a lot of players do that, and Brad Marchand is one of them. But when you've had time to think, and your filter has had time to work, and you still do dumb things, I don't know if you can fix that.
I don't think you can at all.
No.
No, it's who he is. It's who he is. So, yeah, that's basically wraps up what I want to say about that group of people in that game. I'm wearing this jersey because Mika's a Flyers fan, so just as a thank you for filming that entire experience and sharing it with us.
That game, it was a record-breaking game.
It was, actually. Yes, the first time that Dallas has won 1-0 that resulted in an overtime goal. So that's
ever.
Cool. Ever. Yeah, ever.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Which is strange, yeah.
There's a lot of milestones and records set this past weekend, and the weekend's only half over.
What other ones were?
Well, this...
Max Domi.
Max Domi. And there's some debate now as to whether... I think there's some debate. Sportsnet tweeted out an interesting stat that he's got the most goals for a newcomer in the first 20 games in the history of the Montreal Canadiens,
right?
Which I don't think is true, because the NHL Public Relations Bureau released a different stat yesterday.
Oh.
And they said that he's the first guy since the 1918-1919 season when Odie Cleghorn did it.
Cleghorn?
Odie Cleghorn for the Montreal
name.
Canadiens. And he got 30 points in his first 20 games as a Hab.
Oh, wow.
So if that stat is true, and I think NHL Public Relations probably has the authority rather than Sportsnet, it's the first time since then that anyone has gotten 24 or more points in his first 20 games as a Montreal Canadian.
Wow.
And that's incredible.
It is incredible, yeah.
Especially, Max Domi has 24 points in his first 20 games. Erik Karlsson scored his very first goal as a San Jose Shark yesterday.
He did. Was the first goal of the game, I think it was, maybe?
I think so. And that was his 21st game as a Shark, and he got his first goal. So it's pretty hard to compare that.
They talked about it, and we can talk about this later or now, but they talked about it's all about how you treat your situation. What was that?
It probably was me.
Unacceptable. We are filming a legit broadcast here.
That is awful. That is awful. I'll make that go away, and it's now done.
What about your laptop?
My laptop has already been muted.
All right.
You can walk around here and look if you want.
No, that's okay.
There's a little X down there.
They talked about the mentality of when you're traded and you're coming into a new team, you are what you make of it. I mean, Max Domi could have come and played lackluster and stuff, but he bought into it just like Thomas Tatar did and a few others on teams around the league. When you get traded and you come in and like you want to embrace it and stuff, like James Neal in Calgary hasn't really embraced it that much. We watched the game last night. He looked pretty lazy, to be honest, even though they won.
And the other thing about that is you come onto a new team who has maybe an entirely different system than the team you came from. So it's not just you fitting in and embracing things. It's you even knowing where you should be
exactly
in relationship to your new teammates. And to still be so successful at that kind of early time with a brand new team, whichever team it is really something else. It speaks to a player's dedication, but it also, maybe there's a bit of luck or the player's ability to learn sitting in the classroom and going through it with all the different coaches, where we want to be in our set plays and things like that. Fantastic.
There's a lot just to take in when you get traded or you start a new season fresh. You're living in a new city, so you're not used to getting around and stuff and driving. You have to probably buy a house or apartment. You have to, if you have kids, you have to deal with that. Like there's so much stuff off the ice that you have to deal with as a new player that could distract you on the ice and stuff. So it is tough, and it's easier for a young kid like Domi. Harder for James Neal, who I don't know if he has kids or he's probably married and has kids. But
I would expect.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of. I mean, we're quick to judge. I'm quick to judge on James Neal, but maybe there's stuff going on that we don't know about.
That's right.
So,
yeah, good point.
Yeah, not maybe unfair for me to do that. Anyway, the first thing I wanted to talk about was the game recaps, but I guess we already talked about a bunch of stuff.
Talked about a few, but we haven't talked about the one that you're wearing the jersey for. That game yesterday was unbelievable.
That was the first game I think on. I guess there was two early games on last night, but that we watched the Philadelphia-Tampa game, and it was interesting because I will just skip the majority of the game into the third period.
Right,
it was about 12 minutes left, 5-1 for Tampa. And we were talking about what we were going to have for supper. We decided we'll have some hamburgers, but we needed hamburger buns. So I agreed that I would go out and get them. And Mom had asked, when are you going to go get them or something like that. I said, well, I'll go when the game's over. Not that anything's going to happen. And you said...
And I said, the chances of Philadelphia coming back after being down 5-1 with only about 10 minutes left to play is -6.
-6%.
-6%. And then
Philadelphia scored 4 goals and tied up the game.
They scored 4 goals in 6 minutes and 4 seconds with less than 10 minutes to go. That's the first time ever that a team has come back from a 4-goal deficit in the last 10 minutes of a regular season game to tie. Ever.
Wow.
Ever. Yeah, so we watched history in that sense too yesterday.
Huh. Very interesting, because I was trying to think back at games. I was thinking of the Boston-Toronto game in the playoffs in 2013 or something like that.
Yeah.
When Toronto gave up that lead, but it was a 4-1 lead, not a 5-1 lead. So.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
First time in NHL history that's happened. With 10 minutes to go, down 4 goals. It's never been done before yesterday.
That seems a little strange.
It does.
It seems like that, kind of like the Dallas one. You think that would have been broken by now. But,
yeah.
Oh. But anyways, Tampa, as probably everyone who's listening knows, Tampa won in overtime.
It was it was a heartbreaker for Philly because they'd gone so hard to come back and get the game tied. They did end up getting a mercy point out of it, but they were on pace for a win there, and for Tampa to spoil that is awful.
Yeah.
But at one point, Tampa was ahead 3-1, but Philadelphia was up in shots 35-15.
Yeah. Unacceptable.
Really?
Unacceptable. Philadelphia had no business even really being in that game if you're going to let in 3 or 4 goals on 30 shots or whatever, or not 30, 16 shots.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know how many first-round draft picks Tampa had on the ice last night in its lineup? This is
4?
a team that drafts well. 8.
8.
Tampa has 8 first-round of its own first-round, not other players they've gotten. These are players they drafted. 8 of them were in the lineup last night. First-round Tampa Bay picks.
Can I guess?
You could. I have no idea.
What? You can't throw out a stat like that and then not know the 8.
Well, they didn't give it to me when I saw it. They actually mentioned it in the game broadcast yesterday, and you must have stepped out. But it was 8 of their own first-round draft picks all playing.
I think it's Stamkos, Kucherov, Vasilevsky, Hedman, Gord. I'm not sure if Point was first or second round. I don't know the others.
I don't know. And even someone like Sergachev, he wouldn't count because they didn't draft him.
That's true, yeah.
Right? So they have more than 8. But 8 that they drafted.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's insane. And it shows how well a team has done with scouting and drafting and hanging on to the player once they've gotten them drafted.
Yeah, they're a team that drafts well. Detroit's another team that drafts really well.
Very well, yeah.
I think there was actually a poll on Twitter. Someone put it out. What team drafts the best? And someone had Montreal. Montreal's in like second with like 23%. Like,
well,
do you know anything about Montreal?
Well, but just think about it. They draft the best. They're just not smart enough to hang on to the players that they draft.
I guess.
They gave away McDonough. They gave away Sergachev. They gave away Subban. They gave away... So the drafting part is easy. It's the stupid decisions afterwards that screw it up.
A little bit, yeah. I guess I see that. But anyway. Speaking of Detroit, they won 3-2.
They did.
Against New Jersey. A huge comeback win.
Mm-hmm.
Did you watch the highlights of that game?
I did.
Did you know that's the 4th time in 6 games that Detroit's come back and won?
That's crazy. That's almost as good as Calgary's comeback streak.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
Did you know that Detroit has the best last 10 game record?
Since October 20th, in the last 13 games, they've only had 4 regulation losses.
And they're 8-2-0 in the last 10. That's best in the league.
That's crazy.
Best in the league.
Good things
That's
happen
pretty
in
impressive.
Motor City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. What's the next game? Buffalo and Minnesota. Buffalo shows resiliency once again. Comes out with the win. Now they're 6th in the league. The jerseys behind us are in order of current standings. There's games going on today, so these will change as of tonight. But currently 6th in the league. Absolutely amazing.
And that was another comeback. They were down 2-0 in that game.
Yeah.
And they tied it up late, and the winning goal, the third goal, was scored within the last 2 minutes of that game, with just a little over a minute left. They scored it with, 5-on-5. And they took the win. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
Do you know any plus-minus stats of that team?
I do not.
I want to share some with you because this is very strange. Usually things are spread pretty even. You have the person with the best plus-minus is only a couple ahead of the next person, and the person with the worst plus-minus is only a couple ahead of the next person. It's not like that in Buffalo. Ristolainen is a -11. Next is Larson, -4. That's a huge gap.
Wow.
I know plus-minus. You'd say, well, what are you talking about plus-minus for? It doesn't matter. Well, maybe not, but sometimes it matters. That's a huge gap. If you look at the plus side, Skinner's a +13. The next highest is Palmenville at a +6. These are big gaps in plus-minus. I don't think there's a team out there with another big gap in plus-minus, but could be wrong. But anyway, next game was the Montreal Vancouver game. Pretty even game. We've, of course, watched this game. But pretty even game.
It was.
For the most part.
Yeah, it was quite an even game.
Frustrating almost a little bit.
Yeah.
Pedersen was good. Now, we talked about how to pronounce his name.
We did a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
We thought we had it nailed because he himself gave an interview and said it's Peterson.
He did. I rewatched it, and he said that his name is pronounced Pedersen, but
in
Canada, he hears people call him Peterson, and he likes that. So he wants to be called Peterson, but his name's actually pronounced Pedersen. So regardless of how you say it, you're going to say it right. So don't worry about it. I'm going to say Pedersen.
Me too. I think I'm going back to Pedersen.
Me too.
Because there's 2 T's in it.
Yes.
If there are 2 T's, means that the E is short instead of long. So
long T.
2 T's, long E.
Oh.
Or 2 T's, short E. Anyway, you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean.
Yeah.
Price was good.
He was very good.
And Duran sucks.
He was terrible, except the fact that he got the winning goal.
Other than that,
but
he's just floating around the ice, giving away the puck.
He's a giveaway machine.
No look passes. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it really is.
Like, I don't understand. How does he not get talked to by the coaching staff? How does that happen every single game? How do they let that happen?
He's a golden boy.
I don't know about that.
Well, he's from the right part of the world.
Yeah, I guess.
And I do think it is a fact, and the English media and the French media both talk about it. But Montreal will probably cut their French-speaking players more slack when they're not doing well. And I think this is a case of that. And I understand why, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it except to the extent that it might be hurting the team by icing somebody game after game who's a bit of a train wreck when it comes to giveaways.
Yeah, do you remember that player? Was LeBlanc, maybe? I can't remember his first name. But he was drafted by Montreal. It's supposed to be like the next big thing. He never amounted to anything, and he wasn't criticized until like the last couple of seasons when he really wasn't doing anything. Then his girlfriend freaked out on Twitter. She's some snowboarder, I think, or something. And
I don't know.
then he got traded. He's nowhere now, I don't think. But
right.
He was cut a lot of slack by the media just because he was French. But anyway, anything else to say about that game?
Oh, all kinds.
Oh yeah, but
Thomas Tatar.
Tatar guy.
We now know who he is. His name is Derek Toulouse, and he just created a Twitter account this month.
Yeah.
He has already 400 or 500 followers, including me. And he's only got one tweet, which is his video from last night where he redoes his Thomas Tatar thing. And for those of you who don't have any idea what we're talking about, last Saturday night on Hockey Night in Canada, one of the broadcasts, they just happened to have a camera out in the concourse where the fans would walk between periods or even during the play, and they're out to get a pop, a wobbly pop. And he had one in his hand and probably several more already dealt with.
Inside.
And he walked by the camera and said, "Ta-ta." And then he walked back and said, "Ta-ta," again, and the camera followed him. Then he walked back a third time, pointed at the camera and said, "Thomas, ta-ta." And it's become a meme.
Yes, it has.
It's everywhere. Jeff Molson last night, when Tatar scored the first goal of the game, he tweeted, he's the owner of the Montreal Canadiens, he tweeted, "Thomas, ta-ta," with all these A's. And so it's being caught up everywhere. It's kind of like Dart Guy that the Leafs had.
Exactly, yeah.
But he's quite the dude, and he's just a young fellow, and he's having fun with it, and good for him.
And Thomas Tatar actually reached out to Derek and got him some free tickets for an upcoming game. So that's actually pretty cool. Yeah. I'm hoping that Montreal actually takes advantage of this and uses it over their PA system when he scores a goal or gets a point, and they just play that little clip, because that would be amazing.
It would be amazing.
And then the whole crowd does it right after the announcer does it. Yeah, it would be awesome.
You know, Tatar has 6 goals in the last 6 games.
Yeah.
17 points overall now.
He's really bought into playing in Montreal.
Yeah, he's loving it, and the fans are loving it. And sometimes there's little moments that really don't mean much in the big scheme of things, but they gel something, or they coagulate something good. And this might be something, just something as silly as this, where it becomes a funny thing. Yeah. And the funny thing becomes a bonding thing, and it becomes a performance booster.
There's going to be T-shirts made probably, and all kinds of stuff. You'll see it around at games. Anyways, pretty cool.
I don't think Montreal wins that game last night, or Drouin has a chance to score that goal if it wasn't for Michael Delzato and the dumb penalty.
What was that?
When he hit Kotkaniemi. And then afterwards he's looking around saying, "What was that all about?" And he gave an interview after the game saying, "I don't know what they call that for."
He lost them the game, clearly.
Absolutely. He pastes Kotkaniemi up against the boards long after the puck has been gotten rid of.
Yeah.
And there was no way he could deliver that check legally, and he did anyway. And what a ding-dong.
I don't understand. I mean, it's an emotional game and stuff, but that was just stupid.
Yeah, so I think Vancouver lost that game as much as Montreal won.
Yeah, no, Montreal didn't win that game. Vancouver lost it.
Yeah.
The Pittsburgh-Ottawa game was interesting. Murray was pulled, and I think it is his 3rd time being pulled in 6 games, if I'm not correct. But Pittsburgh almost came back. That third period was absolutely wild.
It was crazy.
But Ottawa scored some absolutely incredible goals in that game, and that's actually why I'm wearing this hat. It's a new hat. $39.30, New Era.
Ooh.
I got it for $2.18. It's all about, guys, it's all about the deals. I already have an Ottawa Senators hat over there, but it's one of my lowest quality hats, so I wanted to take advantage of the sale and get this. And so I don't know, put that in a tote or give it away. I'm not sure if anyone wants a used hat, but it's there. Let me know if you want it. Anyway, that game was very exciting. Pittsburgh almost came back. Ottawa scored some pretty impressive skilled goals, and with all the drama going on in Ottawa, it's so hard to do that, to play like they're playing, because it's easy not to try when stuff is going wrong and there's drama and stuff. It's easy to not try and just do what's expected of you. The fact that they're coming out and winning these big games, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
The fact that they're doing it with all the stuff on their back, it's impressive.
And Pittsburgh did what Philadelphia almost did, which is come back to tie. Ottawa was up 5-1 early in the third period in that game, and Pittsburgh scored 3 goals, made it 5-4.
Oh, I thought it was 5-3.
No, it was 5-4, and then Ottawa scored to make it 6-4, and then the game was over. But it was 5-4, right up until late.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I thought for sure it was 5-3. I'd even almost take a bet that it was 5-3. What do you want to bet? Or do you not want to bet?
But the actual score of the game?
No, I know the score of the game, but the progress of the scores of the game.
Oh.
I think it was 5-3.
And then Ottawa made it 6-3?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'll have to go. I'm in the,
Are you
in the
willing
box
to bet?
score right now. Yeah, I'd bet.
A large fries at McDonald's?
Yeah, I'm in. So, you're correct.
Thank you. Large fries coming my way. That's what I'm talking about.
Dang.
Anyway, it's a good game.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I thought it was the other way around. I guess I got the two Pennsylvania teams' games conflated.
No problem.
No problem.
Next game, the Florida and the Rangers game. Luongo let in a few soft goals in that game. Goals that he should have, or shots that he should have had for sure. But he battled a lot in that game. He was run into by the opposing players, by his own team. I think Trocheck took him out there on one play, and I think he had a pretty frustrating game. There's a lot of people up in his kitchen, so wasn't very happy about that. But anyway, that's a big win for the Rangers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think Lundqvist, you were telling me last night that he broke a record or something?
Well, he passed Jacques Plante for the most lifetime wins by a goalie. So I forget the actual number, but it's high. And Plante was number 7 and tied with Luongo. And with the win, Lundqvist, with the win, Lundqvist passed him and now is sole possession of 7th place.
Well done.
The all-time wins. The only other currently playing player in the top 10 is Marc-Andre Fleury, who's at number 10.
In wins?
In record, I think it's wins.
Luongo's not there?
No, I don't think he's there.
He's got to be there.
Okay, let me check. I'm not betting anything else against you. I already lost a
You didn't want to bet another large fries? Come on. He's got to be there.
I didn't notice him on the list.
Yeah, he's 4th.
Oh, okay. I didn't look up that high.
Man, you should have bet. I could have got another large fries.
No way. I'm not that stupid.
Martin Brodeur, 691. Patrick Waugh, 551. Ed Belfour, 484. Roberto Luongo, 475.
Okay.
Roberto Luongo's going to pass Ed Belfour by the time his career's over.
I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eddie.
And Lundqvist is going to...
He's back at 438 now.
He might. He's got some years left. He might get up there.
Man, it's going to be rough.
Look at the nationalities. Are you on the same page that I'm on?
Well, Canadian flags for the first 6, and then a Swede, and then a whole slew of Canadians. Out
of the top 15, 13 of them are Canadians.
Yeah.
Dominic Hasek and Lundqvist are the only 2 that aren't.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Miller's in 17th. John Van Briesbroek is in 16th. Sorry. Tom Barrasso's in 19th. Nabokov is in 21st. Wow.
Carey Price, 37th. He's got lots of time to get up there. But
Pekka Rinne and Carey Price were neck and neck like 2 seasons ago as far as wins. And now it's not even really close.
Rinne's way ahead.
Yeah. Carey Price and Jonathan Quick are tied. Felix Poffin's in 49th. That's a damn shame.
Yeah.
That's a damn shame.
The cat.
Kelly Rudy's in 44th. Kelly Rudy.
Where's your bandana, Kelly?
Yeah. Anyway, what game were we? Oh, right. The next game, Columbus and Carolina. Darling led in some pretty soft goals there. Carolina was doing a lot of puck watching, and Columbus played well.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get a chance to watch the game, but I watched the highlights, and that's what I saw. So,
Yeah.
sorry. Now, did you see any of the Boston game?
I did see a little bit, just highlights.
So Boston won 2-1, and Halak was incredible. Like, Boston didn't win, or Arizona didn't lose because they sucked. They lost because Halak was awesome. And did you see what happened at the end when the puck was right in the crease? Was like less than a minute left, and Halak was kind of like, he already had made the save, and the puck was laying in the crease, and I can't remember what the defenseman it was, gloved it.
Oh yeah, saw the glove.
Yeah, that was epic.
That was quite something. Yeah, it was down on the other end. That is the 13th straight win for Boston over the Coyotes franchise.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Did you see the Malkin save?
Yes, I did.
Oh, I guess we were watching that.
We were watching that, yeah.
Yeah, Malkin made an unbelievable save.
Yeah, his goals against average is fantastic.
Yeah, his save percentage is unbelievable.
Is amazing. In that Boston game, did you see the number of letters they used on the jersey of the guy who got the first goal?
No.
Jakob Forsbacka Karlsson. He's got actually Forsbacka Karlsson on his jersey.
Did you need like a magnifying glass to?
It goes from elbow to elbow, all the way up around the back and down. Like, it's crazy.
It goes from elbow to elbow?
Well, no, I'm exaggerating.
It would have been awesome if it did.
But the letters are a lot smaller than a regular.
Yeah.
Than a regular player's, because they just need, the font has to shrink because they've got this name that's massively big.
Interesting.
Yeah, but good for him.
You know when you fill out forms online, and you can only have so many characters in a in a field? I wonder if every time he has to fill out his name and type in his name, he never has enough room. What does he do?
I don't know.
Does he pick the first part of his last name or the last part? Does he just put the initials? These are things I need to know.
Okay, well, I'm sure there are listeners and viewers out there who can let us know.
Someone tell me.
In the case of people who are from Latin America, for instance, they usually have four names. Four names. And there's the first name, the second name, like the given first two names. But then the last two, one would be the father's name, and the second one maybe would be the mother's name. So if someone's name is Jose Manuel Gonzalez Francesco, you'd call him Gonzalez. You wouldn't say the last name.
Okay.
Yeah. So in Spanish, if you see four names, the last name you should use if you're just calling him Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so is the third one, not the fourth one. Just so you know.
Interesting. How do you know that, and why do you know that?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Just one of those random facts.
Back to hockey. The Los Angeles Kings lost to the Nashville Predators 5-3. Los Angeles continues to struggle, have some injury problems, obviously, in net. I think Campbell got injured recently, and obviously Quick is injured, so they had Peterson in net. He made some pretty big saves last night, but so did Pekka Rinne. Both goalies made some highlight reel saves, and it's a big win for Nashville to get their top spot back in the league, because with Tampa winning yesterday, earlier in the day, they actually passed Nashville. And with Nashville winning last night, they passed Tampa Bay again. So, bit of a back and forth there. The Edmonton-Calgary game, we watched the entirety of.
Did we ever?
What a physical game.
Oh, man, it was great.
It was the definition of Battle of Alberta.
Yeah. For those who don't follow Canadian hockey so much, there is a rivalry that matches any other rivalry in hockey, I think, and that's the Calgary-Edmonton Battle of Alberta rivalry, which Edmonton has dominated over the years. But my goodness, last night was fantastic.
And they almost dominated the game. They were up 2-0.
They were up 2-0, and they were playing very well. Calgary wasn't showing up. They were lackluster the first two periods. Edmonton was owning this game.
It's all about discipline, because Edmonton was very undisciplined. I think it was Matt Cassian who went after Tkachuk there in the first period and almost sucker punched him, basically. Tkachuk was doing some talking. He's playing the pest role. He plays it well. Mm-hmm. And Cassian fell for it. And Calgary got like a 4-minute power play, I think, out of that. They didn't do anything with it, but
no,
I think it was that moment that I think everyone realized that Calgary's just playing with Edmonton. They're just trying to goat them into stuff. And Edmonton fell for it. They took a lot of penalties in that game, and Calgary capitalized. So, I mean, at the end of the game, these Edmonton players can look at the Calgary players and be like, yeah, we can probably beat you in a fight. We got Darnell Nurse, we got Lucic, we got Cassian. I'm sure there's other people on the team who can throw their weight too. But Calgary's just going to look at the scoreboard and be like, guys, it's 4-2. We won. We don't care about fighting. We're going to score goals, and that's what they did. So it's impressive. And they came back for the 6th time this season in the 3rd period to win a game. That's league leading. That's a pretty big stat.
That's very impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. The way Calgary played in that 3rd period was a textbook.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was awesome.
And they almost did it in Montreal earlier this week.
Yeah.
Could be 7. But
yeah.
The last game was the St. Louis San Jose game. San Jose won 4-0. Carlson got his first goal, like we said. Aaron Dell with a huge shutout. I think that's the 4th or 5th shutout of his career. Brittany was at that game.
Oh, yeah.
Patreon and Discord member Brittany.
Unfortunately for her, it was a...
Unfortunately for her, because she's a St. Louis Blues fan. But she had great seats right in the corner, I think. She posted a picture on Discord last night. That wraps up the games last night. As far as games today, Dallas plays the Islanders. The Devils play the Hurricanes. Minnesota plays Chicago. Colorado plays Anaheim. Vegas plays Edmonton. Want to make some predictions, just for fun?
Okay.
Who do you think wins the Dallas Islanders game?
I think Dallas bounces back.
I think Islanders win.
Okay.
I'm going to write these down.
You do that.
Everyone at home, hold us accountable. New Jersey and Carolina.
Wow. Jersey.
I'm picking New Jersey as well to win. Minnesota and Chicago.
Minnesota.
This is tough because Minnesota's been hugely flying under the radar in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
But Chicago's had a bit of a bounce back, especially this week. Corey Crawford's played very well. So I'm going to pick Chicago as the underdog here, and they're going to come out with the win. That's what I'm saying. Colorado and Anaheim.
Colorado.
I'm picking Colorado as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And Vegas, Edmonton.
Wow. Edmonton, they're mad.
They're mad, yeah.
They're mad.
And they're home again.
And they're home. So I think Edmonton is
I'm picking Edmonton as well.
Yeah.
We still have the predictions going on Discord, by the way. If anyone hasn't joined in on that, people are just going ham on the predictions. It's like hundreds of people are playing the predictions.
Cool.
With our bot on Discord, having a lot of fun with it, doing very well. I think Gravity is in first overall with 199 points at this point. I do not partake in the predictions, mainly because I don't have time to log on Discord every day and do it at the appropriate time. But I do like making predictions, and that's why I wanted to do that for today's games. And depending on how the games go, you'll know why I don't make public predictions very, very often. The next thing on my list is the Hall of Fame. We probably could have talked about this last podcast, but we had other stuff going on. Did you see the names that were inducted?
I certainly did.
Okay, so let's go through them one at a time, and you can tell me if you agree or not. Alexander Yakushev, is that what it was?
Yakushev. Absolutely agree.
I don't even know who that is. So
he's only the 3rd player from the 1970s juggernaut that Russia put on the ice for the Canada series and some of the other international play.
Yep.
Tretiak and Valery Kharlamov is already in the league or in the Hall of Fame, and it was time. He was a tremendous player.
Yeah.
Tremendous. And after I read up on him a little bit yesterday, after he was done playing, which was around 1980 when he stopped playing for Team Russia, he coached Moscow Spartak for a while. He reffed for a while.
Really?
Yeah. He did some other interesting things with hockey. So he's quite the fella, and I'm really glad to see him in there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Marchand St. Louis is the next person?
Definitely.
I was a little on the fence, only because of his size. He did so much with how small he was.
Yeah.
I don't even think he was drafted.
He was never drafted, no. He played, I know someone who knows him, actually, who was involved with the McGill University hockey community back in the day when he was just in college hockey, and knew him then. And the prospects for him being drafted were very small, and of course he didn't get drafted, mainly because of his size, and he got picked up on a tryout, and the rest is history. I think it's a great testament to perseverance for him to not only get into the league and play, but to play at the elite level for so long, and to get out maybe on his terms, I would say, because he wanted to spend more time with his kids when they were still growing up. I just think it's a wonderful story. Yeah. I'm happy that he's in there.
I'm glad he was inducted. I just think maybe there's a couple people who
maybe
more than him.
Yeah, it might be a timing thing, but I'm happy with it.
Willie O'Ree,
who
we have not really a personal connection with, but he's from Fredericton.
That's right.
He's the first African-American to play in the NHL. There are arenas in Fredericton named after. There's a Willie O'Ree Arena in Fredericton. There's actually 2, I think, arenas or ice surfaces in that building, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So pretty cool for us to have a local be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And he does a lot for the league as well. He's the youth ambassador, I think is his title for the NHL. So he does a lot of promotion and working with kids and growing the game that way, basically.
They showed an interview with him. I think it was in one of last week's broadcasts,
it was.
Where he gave an interview in the early 1960s when he was with the Bruins. And to hear him in that interview and then later on, he was a good spokesperson even then.
Yeah.
Considering what he would have had to have gone through. And we think mostly about the color barrier. It's baseball. It's Jackie Robinson, who interestingly actually broke into the white leagues in the AAA ball in the 1950s, playing for the Montreal Royals.
Oh, really?
Before he went on to the big leagues.
Interesting.
So he broke the color barrier in Montreal. So it's another Canadian first. We have a Canadian first when Jackie Robinson first played pro ball in a white league. It was up in Canada. And Willie O'Ree from Fredericton breaking in with the Boston Bruins. So
nice.
I think it's great.
Yeah, it is great. Martin Brodeur.
I'm surprised it's this early. He definitely belongs there. I just don't know if it's now.
I'm surprised he wasn't already in the league or in the Hall of Fame while he was playing in the NHL. Like everyone knew he was going in, but I'm super happy about that one.
Yeah,
very
really.
glad.
Yeah.
Gary Bettman.
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
Are you kidding me? You can't put yourself in the Hockey Hall of Fame while you're in the position of who is in the Hockey Hall of Fame that was put in the Hockey Hall of Fame while they were doing their current position? Nobody. Now,
we shouldn't leave the listener with the impression that the Hockey Hall of Fame is controlled by the NHL. It's a completely distinct and separate institution.
Doesn't matter.
I know, but it's not like Gary Bettman picked himself to go in the Hall of Fame.
And what happens if next year he completely screws up the NHL?
Many would argue that's happened time and time again already.
Well, yeah, I can agree with that. But his career is not over. He could do something disastrous to the NHL, another lockout. He could say something ridiculous. He could get caught for doing something, whatever. There's so many things, but his career is not over. I completely disagree with this induction of Gary Bettman.
For me, whether I like him or not, and I'm not a big fan of Bettman, I will acknowledge that he's got stats behind him that shows how he's grown the game in terms of money and reach and all of that, and broadcast contracts and everything else. However, I agree on the general principle, pardon my popping of my pee, on the general principle that you shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame until your career has concluded. And his career has not concluded.
I agree.
So I think that's the main principle there, no matter who you are. You wouldn't induct Sidney Crosby into the Hall of Fame right now.
Exactly.
Even though we all know he's going to be.
Exactly.
You just wait till he's done. And then there's a cooling off period that we need to have.
Yeah, I just assumed that was going to be a rule, that was a rule. I can't
me
believe
too.
that it's not.
I was surprised that while still in your current position for which you're being inducted, it's not like he was a great player who's now an executive and he's being inducted as a player.
Exactly.
That's different.
Yeah.
He's being inducted as a builder.
He should have declined.
Yes, he should have.
If he was a good man, he would have declined.
Well,
I'm being a little harsh.
Yeah, just a little.
Okay. Injuries. Have you seen all the injuries?
Hold it now.
What?
We have not finished with the Hall of Fame.
I didn't write down the other name because I don't know who that is.
Jana Hefford.
I have no idea who that is.
She played for Team Canada for 20 years. Gold medals, World Cups, outstanding female player.
I'm not saying she doesn't deserve to be there.
Well,
of course she does.
Maybe she doesn't in your mind because you don't even know who she is.
Well, I recognize the name, but I don't know her accomplishments other than a few gold medals.
My apologies.
I didn't do it to be rude.
I know, but you really should. You're a hockey media celebrity now, and you should pay more attention to what's going on.
I acknowledged her inducting. I just didn't write it down.
You didn't acknowledge it.
I did personally when I read it. I'm not saying she doesn't deserve to be there. She does.
Okay.
There are all kinds of other women on Canadian teams and American teams and elsewhere that deserve to be in there as well.
But I think if you really thought she deserved to be there, you would have at least committed her name to your memory.
Well, I was trying to keep it like NHL specific for the most part.
So how does Karlamov fit in there? Or Yakushev?
Because he played against the Canadians in the 72 series or whatever. Or didn't he? In 78 or whatever?
I'm busting your chops here a little bit.
Oh, I know you are.
But still, I do think she is deserving. She's a builder in her own right as well as a player, because
absolutely.
The women's game has come so far in the last couple of decades, and she's a big part of that. So good for her.
Oh, I don't disagree. I was just trying to keep it NHL specific.
I know.
So,
I know.
Anyway.
But in doing so, you eliminate women completely.
That was not my intention.
I know it's
like
not your
whatsoever.
intention.
It could have been a dude who played in the AHL for ever or something. I don't know.
Like Don Cherry.
Like Don Cherry.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Is he in the Hockey Hall of Fame?
I have no idea. He probably should be. I don't know what you'd put him in as, though. Like there's the builder, there's the media person, there's the player, there's the owner, but there's no clown category. Speaking of John Cherry, like last night, his mispronunciation was, it would make Bob Cole look like a genius.
It was applicator. What did he call him?
He called him Akbar.
Akbar.
Or Akabar. Akabar, he called him. And then Markstrom, he called him Markington.
Like, it's not hard. I know I screw up names all the time, but
yeah,
not that bad.
But if you want to get a laugh and you're not from Canada, find it on YouTube. Watch Coach's Corner every Saturday night, and you will hear at least half a dozen names mispronounced by Don Cherry.
It's like he does it on purpose.
And he doesn't care.
It's like a Saturday Night Live skit where they're trying to be funny or something.
Like Roberto Luongo. He's been playing forever. Roberto Luongo's been playing for like 70 years in the NHL, and Don Cherry keeps calling him Lolongo.
Lolongo, yeah.
Please.
Anyway, injuries. Have you seen all the injuries recently?
Not all of them.
Elliott out 2 weeks. Vasilevsky out 4 to 6 weeks. 4 to 6 weeks with a broken foot. I'm surprised it's only 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
It's remarkable that can heal in 4 to 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Vatanen, Maroon, Bortuzzo, Carlo, Subban, Arvidsson, Crosby, Mathot, Ladd, Fowler, Howla, Campbell, and Eves.
Wow.
All within the last basically week or 2 weeks.
Dropping like flies.
These are some pretty big, crucial, integral players here for some of these teams. We don't realize it. Usually some person, like the typical hockey fan follows their team. They hear of an injury or two over the season. When you look at the league from above, it's kind of shocking how many injuries collectively there are spread amongst all of the teams. It's a physical sport. The most physical, other than football maybe. Football is 9 seconds of intense brutality.
Yeah, followed by 27 seconds of standing around.
Standing around looking at injuries.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
No, hockey's a grueling game. Although, talk about grueling, you and I watched a bit of the rugby game, the repechage between Canada and Germany.
Germany, yeah.
Wow. Those guys are rugged SOBs. They're amazing.
The play doesn't stop.
No.
That's why it's interesting.
They just keep going.
Yeah.
And occasionally it'll stop because they have to do a line in or a kick or something, but oftentimes it just keeps rolling. All these different series will go and go and go. And, it's incredible.
We were watching and not knowing anything that was going on.
I played rugby as a high school kid a little bit, so I generally know the rules.
Yeah, like you can pass back, you can't pass forward.
Right. And you get these big long lines of people just passing the ball and running it, but the refereeing was amazing. The referee's talking to them. They'll all go down in a big pile, and you can hear the referee. He's got a mic on. He'll go, "Are you okay? You okay?" And okay, and play on and
keep going.
It's amazing. It's quite something to watch.
We'll have to watch that again soon.
Yeah. Just while we're still in hockey, before we go too far, Thursday night, Ottawa and Detroit played in Ottawa, and the Ottawa Senators, as part of Hockey Fights Cancer, they had a ceremonial puck drop with a young gal by the name of Julia Miller. And what she didn't know, she's a hockey player herself, and she has cancer, and they brought her out to drop the puck. So she walks out all by herself on the ice on the red carpet with the puck, getting ready, and the two players are probably skating towards the center ice area for the puck drop. And unbeknownst to her, coming out from the opposite side of the arena, like behind her back, her entire team came out.
I remember you telling me about that, but I didn't see the video. So I'd like to see that.
Okay, I'll share it with you.
Well, not right now.
No, but I'll
Just make a note to send it to me. But that's pretty cool. Sometimes we see stuff like that in the game, and it's pretty special. So that's one thing that the NHL really does right, is do their hockey fights cancer. I think they only used to do it 1 month of the year, and maybe they still technically do, but we see it quite often throughout the season. And I know some teams like changed. I think it was Vegas last year, changed all of their ads on the boards to pink.
Oh wow!
Try that, or that pink color, whatever it is.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
That's great.
I have a question for you.
Okay, go ahead.
It's an opinion question.
Oh.
Players give interviews quite often in between periods after the games. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think players should be allowed to give interviews at all? And if yes, when?
I don't think it's a matter of being allowed. I think we have rights of free speech and things. The player should be able to say whatever he wants, whenever he wants to say it. But should we expect players to give interviews between periods and have these big scrums taking place in the dressing rooms after every game where every player says the exact same thing they said the other time?
Yeah.
It's such a waste of time. And I just think the media should stop going into the dressing rooms and asking these dumb questions.
I agree.
Now, if the team wants to put 2 or 3 players out each time to speak to the media, maybe the winning goalie or whoever scored the winning goal or whoever got first star, put 2 or 3 players out into the hallway to talk to the press for a few minutes, and maybe a coach's press conference. They have to do them now. I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
but
I
to
agree.
have players with microphones stuck in their faces and all they're trying to do is get their jockstrap off and get home, it's such a waste of time. I think it's awful.
I don't like in-between interviews, in-between period interviews. I'm a little okay with after the game interviews because everything's over. But to interview a player in between periods, I mean, there's speeches and you're trying to. The players are talking in between periods. They're listening to the coach. They're trying to. Okay, here's what we need to fix. Here's what we need to do better. Oh, where's Gallagher? Oh, he's not here. He's out there giving an interview. Like I don't think players should be expected to give interviews in between periods. Like you said, it's a waste of time because they just say the same thing over and over again.
All it really does is provide the broadcaster with a little island of content between 2 commercial breaks.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's all it really is.
Literally, that's it.
Let's face it.
Yeah. It's frustrating. Now, I have another question for you. I was thinking about fighting in the NHL. I was thinking about this in the Edmonton-Calgary game last night while we were watching. And a lot of people want fighting out of the NHL. And I think the NHL, there are some within the NHL who probably want fighting out of the NHL as well. Now, the traditionalists, like myself, want fighting to never leave the game. I don't think there's any right or wrong opinion. It's just an opinion. But I was thinking about a concept that would allow fighting to be in the NHL, but there would be much less of it.
All right.
And it involves money.
It always involves money.
So players are still allowed to fight whenever they want, whoever they want, in any game they want. But when they do fight, they forfeit half of their salary for that specific game. So if a player makes $30,000 per game, then they're forfeiting $15,000 in that game to fight. Do you think that would work?
I never tried to wrap my mind around such a concept.
Do it now.
I will do it now. No.
Why?
Because it's either you want fighting out of the game or you want fighting in the game. Just to have less fighting, the way to do that is probably to increase the penalties. Make it an automatic game misconduct. If you got a fighting penalty, you're gone for the game. And someone else serves your 5 minutes and you move on. That wouldn't be a salary hit, but it would get the player off the ice. I think a lot of players, for some of them, when it's $30,000 a game, and many players make more than that.
Yes, they do.
They probably don't break down their wealth in terms of how many games they play. So if you're making $6 million a year, and I don't think it's going to stop me from dropping $15,000 just so I can pop off on somebody.
Well, they get paid like we do. They get paid like bi-weekly or whatever. They do.
Do they?
Yes, they do.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But still, would they feel it in their paycheck? Oh, dang! I only got $187,000 for the last 2 weeks instead of the $199 that I'm used to before taxes.
Well, I mean, when you only play 4 games, say you make $30,000 a game, and you play 3 games that week, you're making $90,000. You're making $180,000 in 2 weeks.
Right.
If you have payments, maybe you have 7 Lamborghinis, and you're missing $15,000. Like,
No.
You don't think it's significant at all?
I don't think it's a serious question. I guess I'm back to that. I don't think it's a serious question. It's not.
You don't think the accountability should be on the players?
No, I really don't. I think that the league has structured its penalty system to almost force fighting to happen, because the league can say all it wants about wanting to reduce violence in the game and hit injuries and all that. And that's the part of it that bothers me. Actual fighting, I like watching it. But it's when the two players go down after they've got in their clinch and they fall. If one player hits his head.
Yeah, with George Peros.
Exactly.
A couple years ago.
Or a helmet gets knocked off and someone just takes an actual punch to the skull and it really rattles them. That's the part that I don't like. If it's going to be allowed to continue, I don't know how. You let it continue to happen if you are really concerned with head injuries. So my entertainment value of wanting to watch hockey players fight is really overcome by my other value, which is to make sure NHL hockey players, all hockey players, are safe.
Okay.
And that's my problem with fighting. But because the league doesn't properly discipline on-ice events, fighting happens because they're trying to settle something that the referees won't settle.
Yeah.
And that bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
Then on the other hand, there are players who will launch into a fight and take down a guy who just delivered a perfectly legal but violent check on an opponent.
We saw that 3 weeks ago?
Yeah. And that bothers me. I think any fight that starts because of someone retaliating for a legal hit, that should be a game.
I agree, actually. I legit agree, because that would stop it. Because it's a huge problem in the league right now.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Because the NHL does want to increase hitting.
Yeah, they said that in their GM meetings recently.
Right. They want to boost that because it's fantastic to watch. The flying check. That's not a charging check. Just two guys just whammo.
Like the big Nurse. Who hit Nurse last night? Was it
Bennett? I think it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love it.
It's clean hit.
Clean hit.
It's awesome.
And Lucic, I think, delivered a nice clean one, which is not always when he's playing. But
was it Giordano that he hit?
Yes, I think so, yeah. But I love those, but I hate the retaliation. Now, there wasn't any of that last night. I think the teams behaved poorly generally, but after those hits, they were quite well behaved.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Pittsburgh. Problems in Pittsburgh.
Wow.
What's going on?
Man, all the same talents there.
That's the thing, right? It hasn't. The team has changed, but not that much.
Connor Sheary's gone, and a few other Kunitz, isn't it?
Kunitz is gone. Sherry's gone.
So there's a few changes, but not enough changes to go from Stanley Cup winner a year and a half ago to worst in the Eastern Conference now.
I saw someone saying that Sidney Crosby might get traded. What are you talking about?
Get away
That's
with
not going to happen for like 3 reasons. Number one, he's got a no-trade clause. Number two, if he did get traded by Pittsburgh, the arena and all the ownership's houses would be burned down because there would just be a massive riot. And number three, Sidney Crosby doesn't want to go anywhere.
Mm.
I can't imagine he doesn't want to go anywhere. Like, I can't imagine Sidney Crosby wanting to go somewhere else. You can't blame Sidney Crosby. And he hasn't played the last 2 games. It's like, come on. He's fighting a bit of an injury right now. But I think Sullivan, even though he's a new coach, I guess, a little bit, I would still consider him to be a bit of a new coach.
Yeah.
He's only been there a couple of years. I think he's in trouble a little bit. I don't know if he deserves to be fired. I don't think he does, but I think he's in trouble. I think there's only so much you can do with that lineup. You can't trade Crosby. You're not going to trade Malkin.
No.
You're likely not going to trade Murray. You're not going to trade Letang. You're not going to trade Kessel.
That's right. The core of your team has to remain.
Exactly.
So what can you change that might make a difference? Going to a third-line forward or a third-line defenseman is not going to make any difference.
Yeah.
The coach might make a difference just to a wake-up call, which I think would be unfortunate.
It would be unfortunate, yeah. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but think we can all expect some changes of some form coming to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, something's got to give. And I think I've heard them say that they are out on the market. They've got some players dangling. They got Daniel Sprong dangling, if anyone wants them.
Yeah, Rutherford has come out and said, like, we're ready to make some moves.
Yeah, but I don't think that will fix what's broken.
Nah, I don't know. We'll see. Mm-hmm. And it's Pittsburgh, right? So in 3 weeks, they could go on a 10-game winning streak, and people will be like, oh, remember that time they lost 6 games in a row?
Yeah.
Funny.
Now, where's my parade spot?
Yeah, I'm not that worried, but there are definitely things that need changed.
Yeah.
There are a lot of giveaways. Matt had a terrible giveaway in that game last night. GM meetings, I guess we already touched on a little bit, but there's a bit of Seattle talk.
Yes.
Potentially coming in 2020. Depends on the arena. Mm-hmm. I think 2021 at the latest, I think they said. Obviously, that depends on lockout season as well, because we know that's coming. So
Yeah. If the Seattle ownership group can persuade the Board of Governors that they will be ready for the fall of 2020, and that's their mission to do that, they likely will get a vote that will give the franchise to Seattle, the Seattle Blanks, insert name here, for that season. So that's the year after next. We could have 32 teams in the league.
What do you think about the Seattle Earthquakes?
Other than the fact earthquakes kill a lot of people.
Well, so does lightning and
the hurricanes. I know, but I'm okay with it. But Seattle's not really. They're in the ring of fire. There's no question. They have earthquakes in northwest Washington State, and all the way down through California and up into BC and the Queen Charlotte Islands and all that. So earthquakes would fit, but I don't know.
Just think about the possibilities. Someone tweeted this at me, I think earlier this week. Think about the possibilities of colors, like black jersey with like red, like lava kind of on it or something. Picture the logo. You could do so much with the logo. I love it.
What about the Seattle volcanoes?
Volcanoes? Maybe that's what it was.
I didn't know. If you like lava, that's probably more of a volcano than an earthquake.
That's what I was, and maybe I meant to say volcano because that's what it was. It was volcano.
Was it?
Not earthquake.
Okay. I'd be much cooler with that. Volcanoes are pretty awesome.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Stop throwing things at your monitor.
Oh, I know why I said earthquakes, because I was reading somewhere else that someone was considering that they wanted it to be the earthquakes.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I got the two situations mixed up. Yes, the person on Twitter was talking about the volcanoes.
Okay.
Which would kind of make sense because St. Helens is...
Mount St. Helens, and basically
right there,
all the mountains there are or were active volcanoes at one point. But Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier was a volcano.
Yeah. So what I said about the jersey being black and whatever, now that makes more sense. Yes, the Seattle volcanoes. Okay. Think about the logo, the possibilities, the colors.
I'd be quite cool with that.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, it would be very cool.
But volcanoes kill a lot of people.
Yeah, but only if they don't get out of the way. At least with volcanoes, you have time to get out of the way.
So do hurricanes.
Well, hurricane, if you have time to get out of the way.
Yeah, but people are idiots and they don't move.
That's right. But volcanoes, it's pretty hard to not move when the lava's going up your leg.
Well,
most people flinch when that happens, but...
Anyway.
Yeah. No, I would prefer that name to Kraken or some other sea monster or some crazy thing. Yeah. Far better. A natural phenomenon like a volcano would be all right.
All right. Yeah. Understand. Right. Streaks. Do you see the streaks recently?
No.
What? Are you thinking about different kind of streaks?
Well, I am, and here's why. Probably nobody saw this but me. I do have it PVR'd to show you after the podcast. But in British darts, in Premier League darts, there was this guy, a Scottish guy, played a Dutch guy.
Okay.
And the Scottish guy won. They interviewed the Dutch guy, and basically he said, I couldn't play because the smell was so bad on stage.
What?
I thought he crapped himself.
Pooed himself?
Yeah, he pooed himself. And the Scottish guy, like, did you, no, it wasn't me. You could stick your finger right there now and it wouldn't smell. It's something like that. It was just the grossest, but it was a hilarious interview. And the minute you said streaks, well, okay. But I will show it to you later. it's so funny that it's really inappropriate to go into any more detail here.
All right, sounds good.
But it's
as far as NHL streaks, we okay. Wow, you're having a time with this one. Buffalo is on a 5-game winning streak. Toronto's on 3. Columbus is on 3. Vancouver's on a 4-game losing streak. And Pittsburgh is on a 3-game losing streak. So,
yeah,
lots of streaks in the NHL and darts, apparently. And anyway, instead of going through my players of the week and stuff, I picked one player and I picked one goalie.
All right.
My player of the week is Joe Pavelski. 4 games played, 6 goals, 3 assists, 9 points in 4 games.
That's
including
pretty good.
A very good game last night by Pavelski. I think he got 2 goals.
That's pretty good.
My goalie of the week, I guess. I mentioned him earlier, I think.
Don't know. Go ahead.
Corey Crawford.
Oh.
2 games played. That's not unusual.
Yeah.
Usually goalies and teams split. If you're playing 3 games, a backup will get one of those games. A 983 save percentage. Goals against average of 0.48 in those 2 games.
Wow.
And a 983 save percentage.
He's back.
Well, it's only 2 games, so we don't really know, but 2 big important games for Chicago, so that's
Really?
awesome.
Right on.
Now, I want to talk. Actually, I was going to do the viewer questions, but I want to skip that and talk about NHL refereeing. And we saw, I don't know who the linesman's name was. I was going to say it, but I lost it. It's on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, the linesman stepped in during the Darnell Nurse and was it Bennett fight?
Mm-hmm.
They stepped in way too early. Like I don't understand. And they're doing this more now. And Darnell Nurse was like just yelling like "Let us go" or "Let's go" or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
Let us fight. And I pissed me off at the time because I want to see them. I want to see that. I want to see good tilt here. Like this is the Battle of Alberta. You can't break up a fight in the Battle of Alberta. Like come on.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you think the refs are doing this because they are being told by the Reffing Association or whatever it's called, or do you think the NHL is in the ears of the Reffing Association and telling them to tell the refs to jump in? Do you think the NHL has something to do with this, or is it the refs themselves?
I think it's just individual choices still. I don't think it's a movement that comes from the NHLOA or from the league itself. I think they saw a pause in the action last night, or that guy, whichever guy it was. They were behind the net, so there wasn't a lot of mobility. They couldn't really skate away from anybody. They were trapped, and there was a lot of players and officials around. And at one point, Nurse and whoever it was were throwing, but then they stopped and they were in a grapple, just probably only to get their breath, and that's when they jumped in to break them up. I think it was a little premature myself, but I don't think it's part of a movement. I think it's just in the moment. I
think it's a movement.
Oh,
and a bad one.
Bad movement.
A bad movement.
Okay.
Might lead to some streaks. That's all I gotta say about that.
Yeah. Okay. I do have a few topics. Just one we talked about last night that maybe you still are intending to mention, which is the concussion lawsuit.
Oh, yeah. I guess we spoke a little bit about this.
We did.
Off camera, obviously.
Yeah.
I think the NHL won a big lawsuit recently.
Well, they didn't win and I tried to find what they did win, and I think I have it figured out now. There was a movement by retired players, about 300 of them, to take the league to court over unsafe playing conditions and promoting the kind of play that would lead to concussions and head injuries and so on. And what there was a movement to do initially was to turn the lawsuit into a class action suit. And a class action lawsuit means not just us, but everybody like us is now part of this, unless they want to opt out, right? So let's say, for instance, you got some bad chicken fingers from a company, Jane's, that constantly is coming out with food warnings about salmonella. Let's say that you wanted to sue Jane's because you had streaks.
Yeah.
And then you wanted to have everybody else across the country who's a customer who also may have similarly had streaks to also sue Janes with you.
Right.
So you're going to do the work, you're going to hire the lawyer, but then you're going to allow other people to join with you in a class action suit. The class is the group of people.
Yeah.
So what they attempted to do initially was these retired players wanted to try to get a class action going, which would expand their group from 300 to several thousand retired players. The NHL fought that. They fought the motion to designate this as a class action suit, and they won that fight.
Okay.
So it was a big win for the NHL in court, but they didn't make the suit go away. They shrunk the group of people who were suing.
Yeah.
Down to that 300. And now it looks like they've reached an out-of-court settlement with those 300 players. If what I've read is right, none of these details are public, but if what I did read is right from insiders, if any one of these 300 players who originally signed on as part of the group suing the NHL, if any one of those players pulls out and says, I don't want this settlement, then the NHL has the right to walk away.
Huh.
So right now, I think what I've read, the settlement is for $19 million.
Wow.
Overall for 300 players. And get this, of the $19 million, $7 million would be hived off right away for legal fees,
Yeah.
leaving 12. And then another part of the fund would go to players who weren't part of the lawsuit who still may be injured. So to have brain analysis done up to $25,000 or $50,000 a player, to have scans done and treatment for traumatic brain injury.
Right.
So the actual cash money landing in a player's pocket is probably negligible, but there might be at least a fund set up to help people get treatment that have now retired from the NHL. And it wouldn't include any existing players, of course. And the class action would have included probably everybody.
Right.
So it's a win-lose situation, I think, for everybody. It's unfortunate.
What side are you on?
Well, nobody knew. It's almost like the smoking business. They sued a lot of tobacco companies who in the 50s and 60s were promoting the lifestyle of cigarette smoking. And everybody was cool, and they had a smoke, and it was in the movies, and it was on all the TV shows. Everybody was smoking all the time. And then the lawsuit started once we all figured out that, smoking actually is bad for you. It causes things like cancer and emphysema. And the question was, when did the tobacco companies know that it was unsafe? And then how much time passed before they acknowledged that it was unsafe? So for how long, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, were they promoting smoking knowing it was killing their customers?
I guess, but
with the NHL, I don't think you can attach the same degree of blame because nobody was really paying attention to an accumulation of traumatic brain injuries until just a few years ago.
And, I mean, I don't know. It's a physical game. It's not like you make the decision to play the physical game. It's not like the Army where you go out and you're told what to do and you need to go fight in this specific place that's going to be dangerous, yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. You don't really have a decision. You signed up for the Army. You have to do what you're told, basically, for the most part. And they're compensated for that. If something happens, you know that.
Yeah.
And obviously. In the NHL, it's a physical game. I don't agree with Don Cherry very often, but he was talking about it last night, and he said that people who are suing, and I think this is happening in was it the OHL or something too? Or I don't remember what league it was in. But I think it's ridiculous that you're trying to get money from, like, you knew it was a physical game, you knew what the risks were. Mm-hmm. I just think it's silly. And feel free to disagree, but that's my opinion.
I think somebody getting in now knows what the risks were, but someone who got in 15 years ago probably doesn't know what the risks were for a long term. And we think about the Steve Montador situation, where Steve Montador died suddenly,
right? And
only later, when they autopsied, saw the degree of brain injury that he had, and not only then, but that was a major turning point for the realization that it's not just happening in the NFL, and it's not just happening in wherever. It's happening in hockey, despite the fact that we started wearing helmets in the 1970s. And the NHL mandated that everybody had to have a helmet on. So the NHL could say, maybe successfully, that they did what they thought they needed to do to make sure people stayed safe.
And they didn't know any more than the players did at that point. So
I don't think they did.
That's why, listen, the NHL does a lot of things I don't agree with, but I'm 100% on their side on this specific scenario.
The NFL ended up in a settlement with their players.
Yes,
it
they
was
did.
like $1 billion.
There's a movie about that with
Will Smith.
Will Smith, yeah.
But it's it was a huge thing.
Yep.
And the NFL, it's a little more obvious. It's head-to-head contact all the time at the scrimmage line, all the time, just crunching into each other. Whereas the NHL, maybe a little less so. But even things like mouth guards. Mouth guards aren't there to protect your teeth. They're there to prevent head injuries.
Like the shockwave of...
the jaw up into the upper skull and rattling the brain.
Yeah.
So the mouth guard is really to cushion about that. It's not about your chiclets.
Your chiclets, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. And that NHL player suit was originally filed in 2013. So here we are 5 years later, and we're just getting to a resolution now.
Anything else on your list?
Just one other thing.
Okay.
It goes back to Thomas. Ta-ta!
Okay.
I saw a very interesting tweet. No, sorry, it was a comment in The Athletic after a story about Tatar and how well he's doing.
Yeah.
And someone commented, and I looked it up to be sure that it was true. So I'm going to run a little quiz by you.
Oh, okay.
Thomas Tatar came to us from the Vegas Golden Knights,
Yes.
along with Nick Suzuki, who we haven't seen play in the NHL yet,
Right.
but who everybody is excited about.
He's playing in the OHL, I think.
OHL for the Owen Sound Attack, and I guess he's attacking up the yin-yang.
30 points in 20 games. I think it was.
Amazing, yeah. So Craig Rivet came,
Craig Rivet. Did you just give away the answer?
maybe.
What was the question?
Thomas Tatar came to Montreal in exchange for Max Pacioretty.
Yeah.
Max Pacioretty came to Montreal as a draft pick. He was the 22nd pick overall in 2007. It was Montreal's second pick of the first round because the 22nd pick came to Montreal from San Jose along with Josh Georges
Oh, I remember that trade.
in exchange for Craig Rivet.
Huh.
So you talk about trades. Montreal got Josh Georges and eventually Max Pacioretty for Craig Rivet.
And eventually Thomas Tatar.
And eventually Thomas Tatar. And Nick Suzuki, who's not even played a game yet in the NHL.
Yeah.
He may be 15 years from now the best thing that ever happened to the Montreal Canadiens. All from that trade where we took Craig Rivet, who at the time was in his 30s and well past his prime, somehow got the San Jose Sharks drunk and convinced them to give us Josh Georges, who turned out to be a pretty solid D-man for Montreal for several years. And eventually that 22nd pick in 2007 that became Max Pacioretty, who we got a lot of good hockey out of before things kind of went sideways.
Yeah.
And now we've got Tatar and Suzuki. That's all a continuum of trades that I think is, and that predates Bergevin too, by the way.
Yes, it does.
We're back into probably Serge Savard time or something. But I love that connection, that linkage and following trades through.
And it's not done.
And it's not done yet.
Yeah.
That's right.
It'll
It's
keep
not
going.
done. It'll keep going.
I'll have to keep up with it.
Keep producing benefits for years to come.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. I'd like to do the viewer questions now.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay.
Sure.
So you have them on your computer,
I do.
and I have them ordered, so you can play number one first.
All
Make
right.
sure your volume's up.
I'll take it off mute. We're good to go. Ready, roll?
Yeah, the first one's from Andrea, I think is
Okay.
name.
Hi, Neil and Brent. My name is Andrea Morana. I'm from Caledon, Ontario. And my question to you today is, do you think Buffalo or Arizona will become a playoff team, if not this year, but next year? I would like to hear your thoughts and opinions. Thank you, and go Sabres, go!
All right, thank you so much for the question there, Andrea. I think that we're seeing a Buffalo team who 100% could be a playoff team or is a well, they are a playoff team right now and could remain a playoff team and could probably do some damage in the playoffs depending on who they play and the matchup. We're looking at a Buffalo team that is, for the first time since Hasek days, probably a very competitive team, and it's exciting. So, yeah, 100% Buffalo is a playoff team.
I completely agree. Arizona, not so much for now.
Arizona's just...
They're just a little bit short.
They're inconsistent.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because I really love Ante Ranta. They have some other players as well, Clayton Keller, Galchenyuk, I guess. Only because he was a Montreal Canadiens player. I didn't really like him that much.
Mm-hmm.
I think Arizona has potential, but I would not consider them to be a playoff team.
I don't think so. Not this year. Not this year. Maybe next year if they gel a bit. Buffalo, though, they can do it now. This season, they can do it. They're doing an amazing job. They have 26 points. They're 1 point more than Montreal. And Montreal, we've been pretty high in Montreal, or I have, and Buffalo's exceeding that even. Right now, if the playoffs began today, based on the standings as they ended last night, you know who Buffalo would play?
Toronto?
Toronto.
Yeah.
Toronto. And they're only 2 points apart. Toronto has 28 points, Buffalo with 26. And Buffalo has, they played the same number of games. And Buffalo has 2 more home games than away games in the remaining ones. And it's a great story out of Buffalo. They've got some fantastic talent, and they've had it for a while. They were the Edmonton of the East for a while when they had these big draft picks.
Yeah.
But now they're delivering the goods for the fans of Buffalo. It's great.
I'm not sure if my math is correct, but are they trending to be above 100 points?
Oh.
I think they are.
Well, they are, because they've played 20 games, and they have 26 points now. So if we go to an 82-game schedule, that's basically quadruple 26. That's 104 plus maybe a point. So they're trending for 105
Yeah,
right
I was
now.
thinking 108, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's impressive.
It's very impressive.
I mean, look what they did for points last season. Remember what Colorado did a couple of seasons ago? Pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, so next question comes from Gage. He's back with another question.
Gage, already.
Hey guys, it's Gage again. Currently, there are 6 teams in the NHL that don't have a captain. That would be Detroit, Ottawa, Toronto, Vegas, Vancouver, and the New York Rangers. My question to you guys today is, who on these clubs do you see being the best next candidate for the captaincy? Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Gage. I love those maps in the background, man. I love maps, and those are vintage maps from way back. So that's awesome. Where's Gage from? Do we know?
I think he's from Texas.
Wow.
Maybe. I thought he was a Dallas fan. But I'm not sure. Gage, let me know.
Great question. And I learned something in that question. I didn't know there were 6 teams that didn't have a captain right now.
I actually didn't either. I thought there was 4.
Yeah, I had no idea. I knew there were a couple, but I hadn't even thought of it. I'm not one of those people that thinks that captaincy is a huge deal, except when it's a captaincy that's doing something bad.
Yeah.
Like if someone's a captain that they shouldn't be. Pacioretty last year is a great example. Yeah. The fact he was captain actually, I think, hurt his play and hurt the team. Not that he's a bad captain, it's just the pressure on him. Did it again. The pressure on him was immense, and in a bad way.
Yeah, I agree.
So teams don't necessarily have to have a captain, and certainly the captain doesn't have to be the best player on the team. It needs to be the best leader on the team.
It needs to be the right player.
Yeah.
It needs to be the right player.
So to the question, though, for Detroit, I think if you look at the most senior player, it's Nicholas Kronwall.
They've got Kronwall, Helm, Glendening, Green, Nyquist, all been there for a long time.
Yeah. I don't see Helm in that role.
I don't either.
No. Kronwall maybe. So I think he would be.
Green would be my choice.
Okay.
Just because he's been around a long time. He's played for a lot of good teams. So Green would be my specific choice. But
that might be the better choice.
Kronwall,
he's in his last year before he's a UFA. He's 37. This may be the end for him. So if it was something you wanted to not make a hard decision on for now, you could give it to Kronwall. Well, let him play the year out and then decide over the summer.
I was thinking that for Green as well. Because, I mean, who do you want to be your captain in Detroit? Probably Larkin eventually. So you want to give it to one of these senior guys for a couple of years, and then once Larkin's ready to take the torch.
I looked at Larkin, and he's got a long contract, but he's so young.
Yeah, he's a little bit too young.
That's all. Yeah.
Ottawa.
You look at the player that was the highest profile over the last several years, it might be someone like a Bobby Ryan, but he's struggled badly. He's done well lately, done a little bit better, but I think a captain needs to be the kind of player that can put the team on his back, and I think that's a Mark Stone.
I completely agree. That's who I have written down here, Mark Stone.
Yeah.
Not only for that fact, but the fact that everyone else on the team is interchangeable, especially like with this Ottawa team. Any one of those players could be out the door, and I don't think Mark Stone's. I think he's the only person that's not in danger of going anywhere.
And he's only got a year left. They have to re-sign this guy.
Yeah.
If Ottawa doesn't re-sign Mark Stone, I think it's worse than the debacle of Carlson.
I think so too, 100%. Yep.
Yeah. I would love to have Mark Stone on my team.
Heck yeah.
I would pay big money for Mark Stone. I'd pay huge bucks.
You'd leave streaks.
I would leave streaks going to the bank machine.
Toronto.
I think Marleau's the oldest, most senior player in the team and has a lot of maturity that he can transfer in the dressing room. Tavares, after the incredible career he's had already, now he's only, 31, whereas Marleau's in his late 30s. Either one of those guys, I think, would be a good pick for captain of the Leafs, just because of the credibility that they've amassed as part of their playing career. Those would be my guys.
I would choose Matthews, actually, for the single fact that he has the ability to take the team and put it on its back. He's very mature for his age, extremely mature, and he is the future of this team.
No question.
If Matthews, in my opinion, if Matthews does not get the captaincy and Tavares does, Matthews will resent the team for it, because Tavares is going to be there for the next 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I think Matthews would resent the team a little bit.
You think so?
I think so, yeah.
I'm just someone who's in their entry-level contract. Not that it's risky necessarily, but I just think it's early, and he's young. He is a leader. He is all those things that you said he is, but I just think he's a bit young. And I was not a fan of the Connor McDavid being captain.
Me
early,
either.
And now he proved me wrong, or the Sidney Crosby even being captain.
I agree with that as well.
So I don't know if it's always a good idea, but I think everything you said is correct.
Okay.
So
the thing that we're saying is there's a lot of good choices on Toronto to be captain. So yeah, they're in a good position. Vegas is a little more interesting.
A little more. They're such a brand new team, and have they developed a culture yet? Derek Engelland is a coach, or is a player that's a carryover from last year. Pacioretty, who has been captain, but again, we can debate whether that's been a good or bad thing for him or the team.
Please do not make him
Exactly.
captain.
So that might be the natural choice you'd be thinking of, because he wore the C for many years, but probably not a good idea. And he's just starting to find himself now, I think, in Vegas, and good for him. I hope he does great. But then you've got Riley Smith, who's already wearing the A now, so he's got a bit of a leadership role in the team. But I think for Vegas, it's a bit of a crapshoot. I really don't know.
Yeah, Marchand could be another choice.
He's good. Yeah.
For me, honestly, after watching the team in person and intently on TV, the person I'd pick is Bellemare. If you watch Bellemare, he's not a flashy player. He's not going to get you a bunch of goals. He's not going to get you a bunch of assists. He's consistent, though. And communication-wise, Bellemare is probably right up there on the top of communication. He's always talking to the guys and stuff, and I think he's pretty well respected. He's a bit of a veteran at this point. So that would be my pick. Maybe a little bit of an untraditional pick, but he would be my pick.
Okay, very good. That leaves two teams, Vancouver and the Rangers.
Yeah, Vancouver.
I'm thinking back to the game last night and who did well and who stood up and stepped up for Vancouver. I didn't really see any flashes of excellence there among the more senior people. Obviously, Pedersen is fantastic. We didn't see Besser. So these guys are new. At some point, they'll be playing leadership roles. But I think the candidates are people that we didn't see last night because they're on the injured reserve list. Guys like Alex Edler, for instance, who's been with the team a while. We've got Brandon Sutter, rather. So maybe in that direction.
Okay.
They've had some, I think, A time themselves.
All right.
But I really don't have a great opinion. I confess I don't follow Vancouver very closely.
I have a very strong opinion, and that is Bo Horvat.
Oh, yeah.
I really think Bo Horvat needs to be the captain of this team. If it doesn't happen soon, I will be very disappointed.
He is a great choice, other than for his age, for the same reasons as before. He's so young, but he is the type of player that can shoulder the team and carry it across the line if he has to. He's amazing.
Definitely.
He's amazing. Yeah, good choice.
Rangers,
man. I guess I just fall back on a Mark Stahl. I don't know much about who's leading the Rangers anymore.
You don't follow them that much.
I don't follow them that much. I really don't. And I know they often will bring in the past, they've brought in older talent to try to stabilize the team. But they've announced earlier this year, that they weren't doing that anymore. They're rebuild. So you're going to see a lot of young faces, a lot of transitory players. So maybe someone is going to stick around like a Mark Stahl. He's signed for another 3 years, right? This year and 2 more.
I mean, they have some players like Shattenkirk is a veteran, but he's new to the team.
Yeah.
I would personally choose Mika Zibanejad because he, I think, leads by example the best on the team. He's won so many games for New York just on his play alone, just putting the team on his back and getting it done. So he would be my pick, but I would be fine with a few others as well. But that's my pick.
Cool.
The next question is Nick, back for his third question. Yeah. So Nick, let's hear what you have to say.
Hey Neil and Brett, it's Nick again, and this time my question, not mainly because of the Blackhawks, but it's somewhat related. With the youth movement going throughout the NHL, where players are getting younger, and that's what the NHL is looking for, do you feel like the NHL is actually looking to hire younger head coaches? From what I've noticed, in the off season, there were a little bit younger head coaches than normal. They were first-year head coaches getting hired, and with the recent hiring of Jeremy Colleton, who's the youngest head coach in NHL history at the age of 33, do you feel like that's part of the youth movement that's going on in the NHL for the new era of the NHL and younger and faster players, to have younger coaches to teach the younger players? Thank you for taking my question. And on my behalf and the rest of Hawks fans, let's go Hawks.
All right, Nick, thank you so much for the question once again. We really appreciate it. And thank you for watching just in general. We appreciate that as well each and every week. So his question was about the youth in the NHL, and specifically this time of coaches. How do you feel about what he was saying?
Yeah, I guess it boils down to whether you think a mature coach can still appreciate and understand a young, speedy game. I think there's no reason why a mature coach couldn't be effective. So I don't see younger coaches being hired as a response to the changes in the game. I think it's maybe in some ways grasping at straws once you've seen the older coaches, your Alain Vigneaults and Quenneville's and Claude Julien's and people like that, coaching various different teams and having quite a bit of success for a while and then having to ship out and move along. Sometimes you just reach down into the AHL or even a college level or CHL level and pull a coach up and try them. I don't know if that much thinking goes into the hiring of a coach.
I agree. I don't think age really plays that much of a factor in coaches. I think it's about the person, not about the age on the license. So I guess I don't really buy into that very much. But he's not wrong. I mean, can you imagine in the 70s if one of the GMs was 28 years old? Like, I can't remember Arizona's GM. I always forget his name. But can you imagine if there was a GM in the 70s? It was 27 or 28. Like, that just wouldn't happen.
No.
You'd never see that.
No.
So, I mean, he's not wrong. There is a youth movement, I guess, in the NHL, but I think it's because people are just hockey smart.
Yeah.
There's more people that are just hockey smart, and sometimes those are younger players or younger people. So I think it's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too.
Our last question comes from Jarrett, and all right, Jarrett, fire away.
Hey guys, my name's Jarrett. I'm from Clarksville, Tennessee. Go Preds. And this is kind of like a two-question type thing. Like, what do you guys think about the recent play that Arizona has been doing? Because they've been playing very well. Their gameplay has been phenomenal. I know they did have a 3-game losing streak, but as of tonight, which is a Sunday, they defeated Washington 4-1. And also, how do you guys think about the Predators' current play in the NHL right now? Because they are obviously having the best start to a season than they've ever had. And so I want to get your thoughts on what's been going on for Arizona and for Nashville.
All right, Jared, thank you so much for your question. We really appreciate that. And you spoke about Arizona and Nashville. We already spoke about Arizona a little bit earlier. To me, again, just consistency. I think they have promise, but they need to do it on a consistent basis. Like, they played well last night. They need to do that every single night. They can't play a different way in the next game.
Yeah, the 4-1 win over Washington, you have to decide whether that's a fluke or whether it's a trend. And right now, I'm a little more leaning on the fluke side.
Me too, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Nashville, on the other hand, have been playing such incredible hockey. Now, PK Subban, I believe, got injured the other day, as well as Victor Arvidsson. So there's a bit of room there for maybe some AHL guys to come up. Obviously, those injuries didn't affect them last night. They got the win. They were playing Los Angeles, who's not playing great hockey right now. But there's a guy down on their AHL team, the Milwaukee Admirals, and his name's Matt Donovan, defense, leading the team in scoring.
Oh, wow, really?
So you might see a player like that come up from the not minor leagues, but AHL, whatever.
Yeah, it's minors. Yeah.
To give a shot. You don't really see that a lot in Nashville because they're so deep. Like they're so deep. Their healthy scratches could come in and play just as good as their superstars. Basically, it's just, their team is incredible.
Yeah.
But you might see a player like Matt Donovan come up from the AHL to get a couple games in. Well, there's some injury stuff going on in Nashville, but there's nothing negative to say about Nashville. Pekka Rinne last night was unbelievable. So. It's great.
Yeah, they're doing a great job. They're plus 20 in goal differential so far this season, and they played 20 games. So they're basically outscoring the opponent on average a goal a game for every game they play.
Yeah.
And the next closest team is Toronto with plus 19. I'm shocked Toronto's plus anything. Because,
Really?
Their net gets filled with goals a lot. Freddie's good, but the defense is terrible. And anyway, but Nashville is solid, just solid. But I guess they're technically tied in points with Tampa Bay. They both have 29 points right now. But Nashville, and they both played the same number of games, but Nashville has 14 regulation and overtime wins, and Tampa Bay only has 13. So Nashville is seated higher.
There you go.
As they should be. They're tremendous, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have nothing else on my list to discuss. We are at 1 hour and 37 minutes on this podcast.
That's insane.
That might be a record, actually.
It could be. I hope your memory card doesn't run out like it did last week.
No, it's okay.
Yeah. I'm good.
You're good? Nothing else?
I'm good.
All right.
I really enjoyed the new set. Thanks to all the generous viewers out there who've made it possible to have this wonderful configuration.
Yes, thank you so much for everyone on Patreon. We really, really appreciate that. It allows us to give away jerseys every month. It allows us to get better equipment. The next step will be a mixer, and we have to get you a new chair, actually, pretty soon.
My tailbone's starting to feel the heat right now.
Yeah, there's a couple other things that we need. So over the next couple months or year, we'll try and save up as much as we can to get that stuff to him, just to keep on improving, because we're not going anywhere. So got to make this look good. So I appreciate everyone watching and listening. That really means a lot. We're going to film some videos after this one, actually. And one of those, I'm not sure if we'll do Having a Yak today, but I have Having a Yak questions prepped. So you can probably expect that sometime in the next 2 weeks. And that's going to be Having a Yak number 10.
Nice.
So it's ready to go. I'm just not sure when we're going to film it or when I'm going to edit it. So it's definitely not going to be tonight. Even if we do film it today, you're not going to hear it tonight. It'll be mid this week at the earliest. Otherwise, we have some more Where Am I videos to film on our second channel. If you're not subscribed to our second channel, we do a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun on the second channel. That's basically what it's all about. We talk about other sports. We do some trivia. We do some geography kind of stuff like It's not like, I guess it is kind of like the game. Is it GeoGuessr or something like that? Or
something like that. Yeah. Never played.
It's like that, but not really. It's our version. We like our version better. It's just a little bit more fun.
Yeah.
So we're going to film, I think, 2 of those right after this. You'll see that on the second channel coming up this week. There is also a Where Am I NFL City version coming on the second channel as well this week. So should be three videos coming on the second channel over the next week and a half. And there should be, I think we have 3 post-to-post videos coming out early this week. Not sure about late in the week, but early this week there'll be 3 post-to-post videos. And, of course, this podcast. And thank you so much for listening and watching this podcast. We really appreciate it. Hope you're watching lots of hockey. Hope you're having fun. Hope we sounded okay with the new mics and the new setup and everything works out okay. Appreciate your patience while we figure this out. And we'll catch you in the next one. Adios.